On our 5th wedding anniversary, my husband locked me in a temperature-controlled wine cellar. Sub-zero air, 24/7 surveillance. My IDs confiscated, all in exchange for a single line, "This is for your own good." He waited for me to submit while talking to his mistress on the phone. 3 days later, I woke up in a New York hospital. The first thing I did wasn't cry, it was sign papers, freeze our joint accounts, launch a hostile interception of an acquisition, and submit evidence of unlawful confinement to the police. Today is the 5th anniversary of Lucas and me. He said that by the end of the year, he'd give me a real wedding in a church. I cooked his favorite steak. The cake said forever. Just as I lit the candles, his phone rang. He glanced at it. His hand trembled. "Company emergency," he said, taking the phone and heading for the balcony. But his suit jacket was still draped over the chair, and something inside it vibrated. On impulse, I picked up the other phone from his jacket. The screen lit up. "Baby Anna." I answered. "Lucas. I just landed." A woman's voice purred like honey. 5 years. "I'm finally back. Did you miss me?" My fingers froze against the cold screen. "You watched all those videos, right? I need to hear you say you love me every day or I can't sleep." "Oh, and I saw the anniversary gift you got Evelyn. Your taste is still awful, but I guess she's only good enough for whatever I don't want anymore." The balcony door flew open. Lucas rushed in, saw the phone in my hand, and his face drained of color. "Don't upset her." He snatched the phone and lowered his voice. She heard everything. In that moment, I understood. No wedding. No forever. I took a step back and knocked over the anniversary cake. The word forever smeared across the carpet like a lump of mud. Lucas looked at me. There was no panic in his eyes, only cold calculation. Into the phone he said, "Give me a moment." Then hung up. "Evelyn." He walked toward me, not hugging me for the first time ever. "I'll explain, but right now you need to calm down." "Explain what?" I heard my own voice shaking. "Explain that for 5 years you've had another woman? Explain that every gift was something she didn't want? Explain that every night you said you were working late, you were actually video calling her?" He frowned. "Anna has a weak heart. She can't handle stress. Go wait in the wine cellar for a bit. I need time to calm her down." The wine cellar. Basement level 2. Constant 10 degrees Celsius. No signal. "I'm not going." I backed toward the door, but he already had my wrist. For the first time, I realized how strong the man who promised to protect me for life really was. "Be good," he said coldly. "Just a few hours. Once you've settled down, we'll talk." He shoved me into the freezing room. Before the heavy door closed, he took my phone. "Don't do anything stupid," he said. The lock clicked shut. Darkness. Cold. I wrapped my arms around myself as my teeth began to chatter. Then a red light blinked on above me, the surveillance camera. They were watching. Watching me cry. Watching me break down. Watching to see how I'd beg. I looked up at the red dot. Then I walked to the corner, sat down, and started counting. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. With my fingernail, I lightly scratched a mark into the wooden floor. 1:17 a.m. Cellar temperature, 10 degrees. Surveillance on. I didn't cry. I waited. The cellar wasn't soundproof. I could hear Anna's voice drifting down from upstairs. She raised her volume on purpose. Every word was a blade. 5 years. "Lucas, I've thought about you every single day when you spent anniversaries with her. I was counting them. She thinks you love her? You should have seen her face when she got those secondhand gifts. Hilarious." I hugged my knees, digging my fingers into my arms. Memories flooded back. How many times? Over these 5 years? On my birthday, he said he had an important contract to sign and didn't come home until dawn, reeking of unfamiliar perfume. I said I'd waited to cut the cake. He said I was immature. On Valentine's Day, he booked a restaurant and then canceled, saying a client had a sudden heart attack and needed his help. I believed him. Now I realize that day was Anna's birthday. When my mother died, he said he was overseas and couldn't make it back. An assistant sent a bouquet of white flowers. I cried until I fainted at the funeral home. On a video call, he told me to stay strong. So every absence, every broken promise, every moment of coldness had the same name, Anna. And her heart condition was a get-out-of-jail-free card, the universal excuse Lucas used to brush off every question I ever asked. At dawn, the door opened. Lucas stood there, his suit rumpled, his expression calm. He held out a check. $5 million, he said, for 5 years of your youth. Fair enough. I stared at the paper and didn't take it. I don't need your money. Then what do you want? Impatience crept into his voice. Don't tell me you want love, Evelyn. We're not kids. I want to break up, I said. He froze for a second, then laughed, not a guilty laugh, but one of genuine amusement. Don't be dramatic. You know you can't leave me. Your friends, your life, everything is in my circle. Without me, you're nothing. He set the check on the floor. Take the money and be sensible. Anna isn't well. You'll move into the guest room for now. Once she decides to leave, everything will go back to the way it was. The way it was? As I watched him walk away, I saw clearly for the first time the man I had loved for 5 years. There was no remorse on his face, only disdain. When I walked out of the wine cellar, Anna was sitting at my dining table having breakfast. She wore Lucas's white shirt, sleeves rolled up to her elbows, revealing slim wrists. My slippers were on her feet. Morning. She smiled at me like the lady of the house. Sleep well? The basement's pretty cool, right? Lucas was pouring her coffee, his movements painfully familiar. Evelyn, come eat, he said, like he was calling a guest. I didn't move. Anna set down her fork and picked up her phone. Oh, right, let me show you something fun. These past 5 years, Lucas has taken me to so many places. She tapped open a video. The footage was blurry, but Lucas was unmistakable, holding a woman on a beach, kissing her on a hotel balcony, kneeling in a proposal pose beneath the Eiffel Tower. Her laughter played over it. See? Every time he tells you he misses you, he turns around and books a flight to see me. That's enough. The old housekeeper, Martha, suddenly spoke up. She stood at the kitchen doorway holding a plate, her hands trembling. Miss Anna, Miss Evelyn hasn't had breakfast yet. I'll take her, Martha. Anna cut her off, her voice sweet as poison. Lucas is still helping you look for a kidney donor for your son, isn't he? Picking the wrong side at a time like this wouldn't be very wise. Martha's face went instantly pale. I looked at her shaking hands, at Lucas's evasive gaze, at Anna's smug smile. My stomach churned. I walked into the living room and picked up the landline. In this house, it was the only phone that could dial outside directly, without going through an internal line. What are you doing? Lucas asked. Calling the police. I dialed 110. Unlawful confinement. The evidence is solid. Anna's smile froze. She jumped up and lunged for the phone. Are you crazy? The crazy ones are you, I said, dodging her hand. Locking me in the basement. Monitoring me. Threatening the housekeeper. Do you want me to hand over the surveillance footage too? Lucas finally moved. He snatched the phone and slammed it down, grabbing my wrist. Evelyn, what exactly do you want? I already told you, I said slowly, clearly. Break up. No. He was practically shouting. I don't agree. Why not? I stared straight into his eyes. The woman you love is back. I step aside for you, isn't that perfect? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Beside him, Anna's expression darkened for the first time. When she looked at me now, it wasn't with contempt, but with something closer to caution. In that moment, I understood. She was afraid of me breaking up with him. Why? That afternoon, Anna claimed she needed to cool down and had the staff lower the air conditioning throughout the entire house. My room dropped to 5 degrees Celsius. I wrapped myself in blankets, shivering, my lips turning purple. Martha secretly brought me a hot water bottle, but Anna's personal maid saw her. An hour later, Martha came back with red, swollen eyes and took the hot water bottle away. I'm sorry, Miss Evelyn, my son, she couldn't finish. Crying too hard. It's okay, I said, my teeth chattering. I'm not cold. That part was true. My body was freezing, but the fire inside me was burning so fiercely it hurt down to my organs. That evening, when Lucas came back, Anna threw herself into his arms, crying. Sister Evelyn has been throwing tantrums, turning the AC all the way down. I tried to stop her, and she even yelled at me. I sat on the bed, watching the performance. Lucas walked over, touched my forehead, then checked the temperature control on the wall. It read, 5 degrees Celsius. Evelyn. He sighed, disappointment written all over his face. Do you really hate Anna that much? Enough to hurt yourself like this just to frame her? I looked into his eyes, searching for even a trace of trust. There was none. Only irritation. I didn't touch the AC. I said, but it doesn't matter, Lucas. Let's break up. Now. Immediately. He frowned again. Can you stop making trouble? I told you. I don't agree to breaking up. Why not? I finally yelled. You don't love me. You love her. Then I'll leave. I'll disappear. Wouldn't that make everyone happy? Because you're mine, he shouted back, gripping my shoulders. You belong here. You belong to me. As long as I don't let go, you're not going anywhere. He shoved me aside and said to the bodyguards at the door, watch her. Without my permission, she doesn't leave this room. The door locked. I listened to his footsteps fade away, to Anna's soft, soothing voice, to the sound of my world collapsing around me, and then I laughed until tears came. So that's how it was. I wasn't a lover. I was an object, property he needed to control completely. The next day, my passport, ID, and every bank card I owned were gone. Lucas sat across from me, calmly cutting his steak. Don't bother looking. I have them. This is unlawful detention. No, he corrected. It's protection. The outside world is dangerous. Evelyn, you're too naive. You'll get hurt. Stay by my side, and I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Anna picked food onto my plate, smiling gently. That's right, sister. Look how much Lucas loves you. If it were me, I wouldn't have the heart to leave. I watched her act, watched Lucas lie to himself. Then I lowered my head and ate obediently. That night, I was unusually quiet. No crying, no protests. I went to sleep on time. The bodyguard outside the door started yawning. At 2 in the morning, the lock turned softly. Martha's pale face appeared in the doorway. Go. Now. She pressed an envelope into my hands. There's cash, a new phone, and a ticket to New York. The car is at the back door. The driver will take you to the airport. I froze. Your son, they found a kidney. She smiled through tears. An anonymous donor. The match was confirmed this afternoon. Miss Evelyn. I don't owe them anything anymore. I hugged the elderly woman who had endured 5 years for me. Then I ran into the night without looking back. I didn't go to the airport right away. First, I went to a 24-hour law office and retrieved the documents I had stored there for 5 years, a thick stack, all in English. Then I went to the bank and used another card I had never told anyone about, withdrawing the money I'd quietly saved over those 5 years. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start over. Only then did I go to the airport. Before boarding, I sent one final text to Lucas's new phone, the number he thought I didn't know, but had memorized 5 years ago. Game over. Your piece is out. Then I pulled out the SIM card, snapped it in half, and tossed it into an airport trash can. New York. Pouring rain. By the time the plane landed, my fever had hit 39 degrees Celsius. I forced myself through customs, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. A white ceiling, the sharp smell of disinfectant, and 4 taped to the back of my hand. Someone was sitting beside the bed. Black suit, gold-rimmed glasses. He was holding my file folder. When he saw my eyes open, he smiled slightly. Long time no see, Evelyn. Daniel, my best friend from college, and the man who had almost become my fiancé. 5 years ago, at my engagement party with Lucas, he'd said to me, he'll destroy you, but if you insist, I'll wait for you to wake up. I thought he was just jealous. Turns out, he was prophesying. You knew all along? My voice was hoarse. That he had a fiancé in the U.S. That he was using you as a cover? That Anna's family background was complicated? Daniel nodded gently. I knew, but I also knew that 5 years ago, you wouldn't have believed me. He opened the folder and pulled out the top document. But you never truly believed him either. Did you? He smiled. The mines you planted over these 5 years, enough to blow up half of Wall Street. I looked at the papers. Financial statements. Email screenshots. MA agreements. Records of fund transfers between Lucas and companies tied to Anna's family. Every single one collected by my own hand. Every single one waiting for today. I want to do this myself, I said. Daniel placed the documents back into my hands. Of course, he said. I'm just your lawyer. And your friend. I tightened my grip on the papers and looked out the window. The sky over New York was finally clearing. Lucas realized I was gone at noon the next day. He stormed into my room, saw the empty bed, and for the first time, panic crossed his face. I recognized that look, not the pain of losing a lover, but the rage of discovering a valuable possession missing. Find her, he shouted at the bodyguards. She couldn't have gone far. Freeze all her accounts. 10 minutes later, his assistant reported back, trembling. Sir, Miss Evelyn's accounts were emptied yesterday afternoon. Not transferred, withdrawn in cash. All assets under her name were notarized and placed into third-party trust a week ago. Lucas smashed his phone. Check flights, trains, bus stations. We can't trace her. She bought the ticket with an ID we didn't know about. Destination, New York. New York. Daniel's territory. Lucas collapsed onto the couch, realizing for the first time that in 5 years, he had never truly known me. Anna's reaction was even more direct. She smashed everything in the living room that could be broken. How dare she? How dare she run away? I'm back now. This house should be mine. She was just a stand-in. A stand-in. The word finally came out of her mouth. Lucas snapped his head up. What do you mean? Stand-in? Anna realized she'd slipped. Her face went white. I mean, she was just temporarily taking care of you for me. I'm asking you, Lucas said, standing and advancing step by step. For these 5 years, you pushed me to distance her, control her, deny her any status. Why? Was it really because you loved me? Or because she looks like your dead sister? All the color drained from Anna's face. This was the secret Lucas never knew, and the truth I had pieced together over 5 years, bit by bit, through video calls when Anna was drunk. Evelyn, have a face that resembles Anna's sister by at least 80%, and that sister died 5 years ago because of Anna's mistake. So Anna needed me to exist. She needed a replacement by Lucas's side to prove to herself that she hadn't killed her sister, and she needed me, when she returned, to step aside obediently and complete this grotesque resurrection ritual. But I refused to play along. I flipped the table. During the week I recovered in New York, Daniel helped me do 3 things. First, he contacted a top medical team to arrange surgery for Martha's son. Yes, the so-called anonymous donor was me. I started compatibility testing 5 years ago. We matched 3 months earlier. I'd been waiting for the right moment. One that could save her and allow her to help me. Second, we initiated legal proceedings. The documents I held were more than enough to sue Lucas for illegal asset seizure, commercial fraud, and psychological abuse. But Daniel advised patience. Let the bullets fly for a while, he said. They're turning on each other now. They'll deliver the evidence to you themselves. Third, he gave me a new identity, Evelyn Chin, he said, handing me a business card. Rising MA consultant on Wall Street. I dug up your college transcript, your finance minor. The proposals you did for Lucas all these years. I had professionals review them. Their verdict? You're a genius. I looked at the card and smiled. For 5 years, Lucas thought I was just a decorative vase at home. In reality, every time I sat in his study reading, I was analyzing his company's financials. Every MA deal he let me take a casual look at, I completed a full competitive analysis. Every English email he assumed I couldn't understand, I translated and archived. He thought I couldn't live without him. In truth, he couldn't live without me, he just didn't know it yet. What's next? Daniel asked. I opened my laptop and clicked into an encrypted folder. Inside were 5 complete business plans, each targeting a core division of Lucas's family enterprise. The German acquisition he's negotiating next month, I said, pointing to the first one. The actual controlling shareholder is my former advisor from my Columbia exchange year. I emailed him yesterday. He replied, Berlin. Anytime. Daniel's eyes lit up. You're going to cut him off? No. I shook my head. I'm going to make him beg me to give the project back. The cruelest thing a hunter can do isn't killing the prey. It's letting the prey watch itself walk, step by step, into the trap, powerless to stop it. A month later, just as I'd expected, Anna began making high-profile appearances. She showed up at Lucas's company galas as his fiancée. dressed in expensive custom gowns, looping her arm through his and smiling sweetly for the cameras. The media headlines read, "True love returns to a tycoon family, 5 years of waiting finally rewarded." She started inserting herself into company affairs, reviewing documents as the future Mrs. CEO, switching suppliers, even attempting to interfere in personnel decisions. The old guard on the board was furious, but Lucas shut them down. "Anna is the future lady of the house," he said. "Everyone should be more accommodating." The result of that accommodation was predictable. Within 3 months, the company lost 3 major clients, internal morale sank, and the stock price began a slow, steady decline. And all of it, I watched clearly, through the eyes Daniel had quietly arranged. On my phone, I had a countdown app. Time until the deepest mine I'd planted detonated, 47 days. During that time, Lucas tried to find me. He called from countless numbers, sent emails, even flew to New York to try to corner me, but Daniel's security was airtight. Where I lived, Lucas couldn't even get past the front gate. The last time, he waited downstairs at my new company all night. When I left the building in the morning, he rushed toward me, unshaven, eyes bloodshot. "Evelyn, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please come back. I'll break up with Anna immediately. We'll get married. I'll give you my shares, everything." I looked at him and suddenly felt nothing but distance. This man I once looked up to now seemed pathetic, groveling, almost dog-like. "Lucas," I said, "do you know what the biggest crisis your company is facing right now?" He froze. "It's not the loss of clients, not the falling stock price," I said with a smile. "It's the performance bet agreement you signed 5 years ago to please Anna's family. It matures in 47 days, and you're not going to hit the targets." His face went instantly white. "How do you know about that agreement?" "Because I ran the numbers for you," I said softly, "and I was the one who suggested you sign it. Remember? That night, you said Anna's family was pressuring you." I said, "The terms are harsh, but it's worth a gamble." "You even praised me for being smart." He stumbled back as if he'd seen a ghost. "So, you started plotting against me back then?" "No." I shook my head. "It started the first time you locked me in the wine cellar and told me I needed to be sensible." I turned and walked into the building. The glass doors closed, reflecting the sight of him collapsing to the ground outside. Ugly. 1 week before the performance bet agreement expired, Lucas's company finally secured the German acquisition. At the celebration banquet, he was riding high. Anna leaned against him, wearing an enormous diamond ring, announcing to everyone, "Our wedding will be in a church next month." After 5 years of waiting, the day has finally come. A reporter asked, "What about Miss Evelyn?" Lucas stiffened. Anna smiled and took the microphone. "Her? Just a nanny, now that the real owner is back." Of course she knew better than to stay. The remark was broadcast live. 10 minutes later, an anonymous account called 5 Years of Truth posted its first video. It was the surveillance footage from that night in the wine cellar, in black and white. I sat curled up in the corner, shivering violently, while upstairs Anna's unrestrained laughter echoed, along with Lucas's gentle, soothing voice. The caption read, "This is how a nanny is treated." Public opinion exploded. But this was only the beginning. The next day, the German acquisition partner suddenly announced a delay in signing. The reason, serious integrity concerns regarding the counterparty. Lucas lost his mind. He flew to Berlin, but couldn't even get a meeting with the other side's executives. On the 3rd day, a little-known New York investment firm announced it had completed a controlling acquisition of the German company. On the day of the signing, Lucas was invited to attend as an observer. The conference room door opened, wearing a black suit and high heels. I walked in with Daniel at my side. The room fell silent. The coffee cup in Lucas's hand slipped and shattered on the floor. "Allow me to introduce her," the German company's CEO said, standing to shake my hand warmly. "Ms. Evelyn Chen, our new controlling shareholder, and the true driving force behind this acquisition." I took the seat at the head of the table and looked at Lucas's ashen face. "Mr. Lucas," I said, "we'd like to make a few adjustments to the terms." I slid a new contract across the table. He scanned the first page, his hands beginning to shake. This is 3 times harsher than the original terms." "That's impossible." "You're free not to sign," I said calmly, But you should know, the performance bet agreement expires in 4 days. Without this acquisition, you'll miss the targets. The money you'll owe Anna's family will be enough to bankrupt your company. He jerked his head up, eyes blazing red. It was you. You designed everything. Designed? I tilted my head. I just thought about how to survive while you were trying to freeze me to death in a basement. I stood, looking down at him. Sign. Or don't. He stared at me for a long time, then slowly picked up the pen, his hand shaking so badly he could barely hold it. When the final signature landed, I heard his teeth chattering. Evelyn, his voice was hoarse. How much? Do you hate me? I gathered the contract and walked toward the door. Before opening it, I looked back at him once. I don't hate you, Lucas. I just don't love you anymore. The brutal acquisition terms became the final straw that broke Lucas and Anna's relationship. Anna's family made a fortune off the performance bet agreement, but Lucas's company was left badly damaged. The board forced a reckoning. He dumped all his rage on Anna. If you hadn't forced me to sign that deal, if you hadn't made me push Evelyn away, the company wouldn't be in this mess. Anna fired back just as viciously. You're the idiot. You couldn't even keep control of one woman. Now she's destroyed you. How is that my fault? They turned on each other, tearing open old wounds. Anna exposed dirt on Lucas, how he'd framed his own uncle to seize control of the company. Lucas retaliated by leaking evidence of money laundering by Anna's family. Dogs biting dogs, nothing but blood and fur flying. And all of that evidence just so happened to find its way into the hands of the media. I sat in my New York apartment, watching their disgrace play out on TV, and slowly took a sip of hot cocoa. Daniel sat across from me and slid a stack of new documents my way. Anna's father is under investigation. Lascelles' company stock has crashed, and the board is preparing to remove him. He paused. Do you want to keep going? I looked out at the New York night skyline. The city was beautiful, lights glittering like stars spilled across the ground. 5 years ago, Lascelles said he'd bring me to New York for our honeymoon, but one phone call from Anna changed the plan to Los Angeles, where she was. Now I was here, on my own. Did Martha's son's surgery go well? I asked. Very well. She asked me to thank you, and said, she's sorry. I shook my head. The person who should apologize was never her. My phone vibrated. An unfamiliar number. I answered. It was Lascelles. His voice was hoarse, like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Evelyn. I lost. I admit it. Please, let me go, okay? For the sake of our 5 years together. 5 years? I laughed softly. Did we ever really have that? There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said, the church. I prepared the wedding. The church wedding you wanted. Come, please, just the two of us. I hung up, blocked the number. Then I said to Daniel, help me book a flight. Where to? Berlin. I smiled. My MA firm, it's time it officially opens. Later, I heard that Lascelles really did go to the church, dressed in formal wear, holding flowers. He waited from morning until late at night. The media caught photos of him leaving in a daze. The headline read, Tycoon's dream shattered, groom waits alone for a bride who never comes. Later still, rumors spread that he suffered a mental breakdown. He talked to the air, saying Evelyn is coming back, saying we're going to get married. His company went bankrupt and entered liquidation. It was acquired at a low price by my MA firm. On the day the papers were signed, his lawyer handled everything. Lascelles himself never appeared. Anna's family collapsed completely due to money laundering charges. She fled overseas, but was soon arrested for carrying contraband. On the day of her trial, she screamed at the cameras, Evelyn did this to me. She planned everything. No one believed her. Or rather, no one cared. I appeared on the cover of a financial magazine. The headline read, From Stand-In to Queen, The Revenge Myth of Evelyn Chin. Daniel placed the magazine on my desk and smiled. How does it feel? I flipped through it and shook my head. Not well written. They call it revenge, I said, closing the magazine. But I didn't take revenge. I simply took back control of my life. That's all. 3 years later, my MA company in Berlin went public. On the day we rang the bell, Daniel stood beside me. For those 3 years, he had stayed by my side as a partner, never crossing boundaries, never leaving. A reporter asked, Are the two of you a couple? Daniel smiled at me and handed me the microphone. I took it and looked into the camera. Daniel is my most important partner, and the friend I trust the most. I said, as for whether there will be more in the future, that's our business, not yours. Good-natured laughter rippled through the room. After the press conference, Daniel walked me back to my apartment. Business trip to New York tomorrow? He asked. Yeah, a new project. I hesitated. Do you want to come with me? His eyes lit up. I thought you'd never ask. Someone has to take the first step. I smiled. He hugged me lightly, very briefly, as if afraid of breaking something. Evelyn, he said softly near my ear, you don't have to rush happiness. We have all the time in the world. I watched him drive away, standing in the Berlin night wind, and suddenly thought of that night 5 years ago. The wine cellar was so cold I thought I'd never feel warm again for the rest of my life. But now I stood in the heart of Europe, with my own career, real friends, and a companionship that required no humiliation. My phone rang. It was Martha. Her son had gotten into college. She'd opened a small restaurant, and business was good. She said, Miss Evelyn, thank you for giving me the courage to start over. I replied, you were the one who gave me the courage to escape. After hanging up, I looked up at the sky. There were stars over Berlin tonight. So many, too many to count. Just like life. As long as you dare to walk out of that basement, you'll discover the world is far bigger than you ever imagined. So big that all the pain you've suffered is nothing more than a speck of dust in a corner. One gust of wind, and it's gone. And ahead of you, the light is breaking.